Should we start, Neha?
Yes, I think we can start.
Right. Good evening, teachers. Good evening. Yeah. So I think we have waited 5 minutes past the scheduled time. So it's a good time to start. Language is a roadmap of a culture. It tells you where its people come from and where they are going. A very good note from Rita Mebron. With this beautiful thought, a very warm welcome to one and all. I am Pallavi from the Academic Excellence team, and it's a pleasure to host today's webinar on behalf of Edward Publishing Company. Thank you for joining us. Today's session explores an exciting and insightful theme, the neuroscience of language. Language learning is not merely about words and rules. It is deeply connected to how the brain processes sounds, meaning, emotion, and experience. When we understand this connection, our classroom practices become more effective, inclusive, and learner-centered. To help us understand this fascinating intersection of brain science and language education, we are delighted to have this topic today. To help us understanding this fascinating topic, we have with us Ms. Neha Gupta, who is a dynamic professional with a strong academic background in English literature and a postgraduate degree in mass communication. A lifelong learner, her passion for early childhood education recently led her to pursue advanced studies at 𝐼𝐻𝐻 Premji University, Bengaluru, deepening her understanding of how young minds learn language. With over 2 decades of experience in publishing, curriculum development, lesson planning, storytelling, and teacher training, Neha currently serves as the publishing and product head at Edward Publishing Company. Part of the ABP group, her work is deeply informed by research on how the brain acquires language, ensuring curricula that are developmentally appropriate, engaging, and impactful. An AI enthusiast and inclusion advocate, she actively explores how technology and neuroscience-informed practices can enhance language learning for diverse learners. Beyond her professional achievements, Neha is also an accomplished public speaker with a theater background, bringing storytelling, humor, and performance into her sessions, making complex ideas accessible and memorable. We are truly privileged to have her with us today. And we also thank Edward Publishing for having given this platform to have Neha with us today. Over to you, Neha. And please join me in welcoming Ms. Neha Gupta as she takes us through the neuroscience of language. Neha, over to you.
Thanks, Pallavi. Yeah. Thanks, Pallavi, for those kind words. And a big thank you to all the teachers who have taken time today to join this session. So teachers, in all our conversations about learning, we sometimes forget that there's a brain behind every learner. We sometimes forget that there's a brain behind every learner, and we kind of miss it while designing the lesson plans or the practice material for the learners. In today's session, we would like to bring that brain to the center. That's what today's session is all about. How neuroscience shapes learning and how we can understand neuroscience to understand how a learner's mind works. This is what the session is all about. So without taking much time of yours, I'll quickly share my screen. I hope my screen is visible to everyone. I'll put this on slideshow mode. Yeah. Okay. So teachers, I'll start with a very simple question. Do you think our brain is like a computer? Or do you think it's not much like a computer? You can post a yes or a no in the chat window. If you think our brain is like a computer, just type in yes. If you think it's not like a computer, type in no. Okay, so many of the teachers think that a brain is very much like a computer. Great. Let me start with something very fascinating. Our brain is not a computer. It is actually a more complex machine as compared to a computer. It's not waiting to download some grammar rules or some chemistry formulas. It's a living, pulsing network that learns through patterns, emotions, and curiosity. So every word we teach, every smile we share, even if we are teaching a science formula to a child, every pause that we make, our brain registers it as a data. But not all data are treated equally. The brain decides what to keep and what to toss out. So this is the reason why children forget certain things and then they remember certain things. So our job as teachers is not to push more in, to push more data inside a child's brain. It is to make sure that what is going inside a child's brain, it sticks. So that's our job as teachers, to make learning stick. And that's why, neuroscience comes into the picture. It helps us teach the way the brain naturally learns. And I'm sure by the end of the session, you'll see your subjects as not like merely subjects, but as a science of connection. So on this note, we'll go further. Okay, so this is actually an icebreaker activity which I use when I'm taking an offline session. But since we have joined online, we'll keep it a little quieter. Otherwise, I would have asked you to sing and dance. But since this is online session and that won't be possible, we'll do something quieter, but yet enough powerful. So just think of a moment when a child, your own child or a learner or your student made you smile. Just think of a moment. It could be like something, they said something nice or they did something for you that really made you smile. Just think of that one moment. You don't have to type it. You don't have to share it. Just spend 10 seconds and just think of one such moment. Now just hold that moment in your mind. What you just did is not nostalgia. You kind of activated an emotion. And this is what neuroscience tells us. That emotion is not an extra in learning. It is the entry point. When we begin with joy, our brain feels safe. And when our brain feels safe, it becomes ready to learn. So let's begin. Okay, so teachers now just spend 10 seconds and just read this paragraph. I'll give you 10 seconds. And as you can see, this paragraph is ridden with spelling mistakes. So just spend 10 seconds and try reading this. Teachers, are you able to read this despite the spelling mistakes?
Neha, sorry to interrupt.
Neha, you try to take out that slide.
Can you
Sorry,
please
what
just remove this pop-up screen? Cancel it out.
Okay,
just cancel it
sure.
out. You can. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Is it better? Okay. So teachers, are you able to read this? If you are able to read this, you can hit the thumbs up button. So Pallavi, now since I won't be able to see their reactions, do you think any thumbs up coming up? Okay, I think the teachers are now hitting the thumbs up button. So that means they are able to read this paragraph despite the spelling mistakes. So teachers, how did that happen? I mean, there were so many spelling mistakes in this paragraph and you were still able to read it. That's because your brain doesn't read every letter. It recognizes a pattern. So that's the magic of the brain. It doesn't look for perfection. It looks for patterns. In fact, this is the reason why, sometimes, our boards, our examination boards say that if a child is making a minor spelling mistake, but the overall context and the overall answer is
small spelling.
okay. So teachers, I would request you to please put yourself on mute for some time. Yeah. Okay. So I was saying, so despite the spelling mistakes, you were able to read this paragraph, which is because our brain recognizes the pattern. It doesn't read every letter. And this is the reason why many examination boards also say that if a child is making a minor spelling mistake, but the overall context is fine, the overall answer is fine, we don't have to penalize the child for a minor spelling mistake or something. So when we teach spelling or reading, we often focus on correctness, right? Especially English teachers, I've seen they are so much focused on spellings. But the brain doesn't really care about each and every letter. It cares about the familiarity. It cares about the context. So you were able to read this paragraph because you were able to understand a pattern. You were able to understand the words through patterns. And, overall, the paragraph was making a connection. That's why you were able to read this paragraph. So when we teach pattern first, accuracy follows. So just remember this, your brain doesn't decode all the time. It also predicts very often. And when we help our brain predict better, learning becomes more joyful and more effective. Great. Okay. So teachers, this is how learning happens. So every single thing we teach our learners, it may be a poem, it may be a rule, a tiny conversation, anything that we teach our learners, it starts as an input. So that's where, that's when the learner hears it, sees it, or reads it for the first time. It starts with an input. It could be anything. But that input alone doesn't mean learning. That input then enters the brain's working memory. This is a very small, a temporary space which can hold 4 to 5 items at one time, right? So you teach something to your learner and then it enters the working memory of the child. And what happens if we overload this space? I just mentioned that it can only hold about 4 to 5 items at a time. So when we overload this space, if the child is not able to hold so many items at one time. So the information just evaporates if you try to overload this working memory space. So this is like very much writing on water. It just evaporates since it can only hold so much. Then what happens? Then from the working memory, even if you are able to make learning more joyful, only then the concepts enter the long-term memory. After the working memory, it enters the long-term memory. And actually, to make the concepts go from working memory to the long-term memory, your brain needs 2 things. And which are those 2 things? Those are meaning and connection. This is the reason why stories work better than mathematical formulas or grammatical rules or scientific concepts. That's why there is so much of focus on storytelling these days. Since through stories, through visuals, through examples, we make learning stick. And this is how we make sure that the concepts which are at present in the working memory, they enter the long-term memory of the children. So once the concepts are stored in the long-term memory of the child, the children can retrieve that information. They can bring that information back whenever it is needed. So this is the whole cycle of learning. That we start with inputs. Those inputs then go to the working memory. Then from working memory, the input goes to the long-term memory. And then the children are able to retrieve that information and use it to their advantage. That's the whole learning cycle. Now we'll try making it more, make it simpler. So imagine, so teachers, imagine you are managing a toll booth, right? You are a traffic controller. And you are managing a toll booth. It's a very small toll booth. It can only accommodate like 4 to 5 vehicles at a time. And imagine suddenly, there's a rush hour and suddenly, some 18, 20 vehicles come. Then what will happen? It's a very small toll booth and suddenly, instead of 4 or 5 vehicles, some 18, 20 vehicles come at a time. What happens? There will be a traffic jam. And what happens in a jam? Nothing moves forward. No vehicle is moving forward. People are either reversing or they are just honking, right? So yeah, so if you try to teach more than 4 to 5 concepts to a child at the same time, if you try to overload a child's brain, you try to teach them a lot at the same time, nothing actually moves, nothing goes into their long-term memory. So what is our job as teachers? We have to act as traffic controllers, and we have to slow things down for the children. We have to guide the ideas, one idea at a time, and we have to let each car pass smoothly into the long-term memory. We have to channelize the cars properly so that very nicely they go into the long-term memory and they are very nicely parked into the long-term memory. But teachers, if you keep your cars parked all the time in the parking space very nicely, do you become good drivers? You don't. So it's very important that the ideas are not just parked into the long-term memory. The whole idea is to make sure that the child is able to retrieve those concepts whenever needed. So you don't have to keep your cars parked in a parking space all the time. Whenever required, you're supposed to take that car out and drive. Only then you become a good driver. And you become a good learner only when you are able to use those concepts into your day-to-day lives. So this is the brain's learning pathway, that there's a working memory, then it goes into the long-term memory, and then you retrieve those concepts. Okay, so this is a very common complaint of every teacher, that students forget. Now, why do students forget? We have to understand that, as we just learned, that an overloaded brain cannot hold more than 4 new items. Sometimes the brain is very overloaded, and as we just discussed, it cannot hold more than 4 to 5 new items. So if, for example, if we are trying to teach a lot of concepts to the child at the same time, and especially in a class, there will be like multiple subjects, children will be learning multiple subjects, multiple concepts. So if the brain is so much overloaded, then students often forget, since the brain only can hold so much. And then overload leads to forgetting, right? So this is one reason why students forget. Sometimes there's an overload. We are not able to channelize the cars properly into the pathway, and overload leads to forgetting. So what is the solution? We simplify, we connect, and then we revisit. So it is very important that we simplify the concepts, and we try to connect the new concepts to the previous concepts that the children already know. This is also the Piaget's theory of assimilation. So Jean Piaget was a very famous educational psychologist who came up with this theory of assimilation and accommodation. Assimilation is when there's an existing schema of things in a child's brain, that there is some prior knowledge that the child already has. And then you bring in a new concept, which you try to link to the previous knowledge that the child already has. So that's how you bring the connection. And that's how the children assimilate the new knowledge. It becomes part of their existing knowledge when you try to bring in a new concept and you connect it to the previous knowledge that children already have. So that's how you bring in a connection, and then you revisit. It's very important that you revisit the same concept multiple times. That's what makes retrieval of concepts smoother. So, okay, so we understood this slide. Children forget when their mind is overloaded. We overload the brain with more than 4 new items, and then that overload leads to forgetting. The solution is to simplify the concepts, to connect the previous concepts to the new knowledge that the children are going to acquire, and then revisit those new concepts multiple times. Okay, we'll go further. Yeah. Okay, so teachers, we need to unlearn a few things. So we often talk about multiple intelligences, according to which a child can learn through only one particular way. Actually, we often think that, a child can either be a kinesthetic learner or only a visual learner. We often think that a child is able to learn only through one particular way. Mostly we say children are visual learners. They only learn through visuals. Yes, visual can be one way of learning things, but I would say children learn through multiple ways. They use, so this is a theory of multiple intelligences. Children don't learn only in one particular fixed style. They learn through multiple ways. So don't think if you, so you can't brand a child that this child is only a kinesthetic learner, he only learns through movements, this child is only a visual learner, he or she can only learn through visuals. We shouldn't brand, we shouldn't label any child. Children learn through multiple ways. Okay. And we often say good teachers can multitask and so can students. So teachers, do you think you are very good multitaskers? Just type in a yes or no in the chat window. Do you think teachers are multitaskers?
Yes, we are. Yes,
Okay,
we are.
Okay, so multitasking means you are able to do multiple things at a given point of time. You still think you are able to multitask? Okay, so teachers, there's a difference between handling multiple tasks and multitasking. Okay, we can handle multiple tasks at a time, but at one point of time, we can only do one task. I'll give you an example. So once I had to catch a flight to Kolkata, and because of certain reason, the flight was getting delayed. And I was really, very anxious. What is going to happen? Am I going to catch the flight? How long will it take? And meanwhile, I was getting a lot of calls from my colleagues, from my family, and I was getting really angry. I didn't want to answer any call because my mind was completely focused on my flight. Okay, so we say that we are able to multitask, but essentially what we do, we only switch priorities. And sometimes that switch is so swift, within a fraction of seconds, we are able to switch our priorities, that we say that we are multitasking, though essentially at a given moment of time, we only do one task. So if a child says, I'm able to listen to music and do my homework both at the same time, just remember they are doing both very badly. We switch priorities, we don't really multitask. Our brain is not designed to multitask. Multitasking actually splits attention. Okay, next, there's a very common myth that just being exposed to English is enough. Now here actually the question is not just about English, about any other language, about any other subject. We sometimes say that, the child has very good atmosphere at home, his parents speak in English, or maybe like his parents are scientists, they are very good at science. And because of the kind of atmosphere the child is getting at home, because of that atmosphere, the child is exposed to the target subject, even that much is enough. So that again is a myth. Only exposure to a certain language, exposure to certain subject is not enough. What is required is active practice and engagement. That is something that makes learning stick. So just being exposed to the target language is not enough. So I traveled to Hyderabad very recently and I was exposed to a lot of Telugu. And I spent good 2-3 days in Hyderabad, but I'm still not able to understand even a single word of Telugu. Right? So just being exposed to the target language or the target subject is not enough. It's important that we practice regularly and the engagement is such that it makes learning stick. So that is very important. Okay, let's go next. Okay, teachers, now we'll do a quick activity. So here you see a list of different words along with the visuals. Now just spend 10 seconds and just look at this list. And there are some visuals also given here along with the words. We see rain, we see shoes, there's a color pink, we see a tree, we see a boy running, there is sand, there's a table, there's a bird, a wall, and sky. Great. Now let me show you another list on the next slide. Okay, here we don't have any visuals. We just have a plain list of words. So what can we see here? Teacher, student, classroom, blackboard, chalk, book, notebook, desk, question, pencil. Great. Okay, so teachers, which list was easier to remember? Please type in your responses in the chat window. List 1 or list 2? Pallavi, are there any responses in the chat window?
Yes, yes. Most of them are saying it's one, list 1.
List 1. Anyone who says list 2?
No, no. The chats are flowing in. They all are saying list 1.
Okay. Okay, can anyone type in what was given in list 1? Type in the words which were there in list 1. Pallavi, any responses?
It's bird, sand, table, rain, bird, sand, tree, etc.
Etc. Okay. And can you type in the words which were there in list 2?
It's sky, sand, run, sand, picture and word. Yeah. Tree, pink, bird, sand, table.
Okay. And can you type in the words which were there in list 2?
Teacher, book, students, notebook, classroom, chalk, teacher, chalk, question, words.
Great. So teachers, would you like to, teachers, would you like to change your answer to this question? Which list was easier to remember? Do you still think list 1 was easier to remember, or was it list 2?
The response is still they want to stick on to 1.
Okay. Okay, so actually, yeah, list 1, but list 1 had a very disjointed set of words. Yes, there were visuals, but those were very disjointed. List 2 contained the words which which is connected to your profession. So that's why I would say list 2, at least for me, list 2 would be easier to remember. There were visuals in list 1, but in list 2, there were words which were connected to each other. And actually, connection is what makes learning stick. So when there's a connection, it makes anything easier to remember. Yes, visuals also play a part, but only to an extent. Connection is something that plays a larger role in making learning stick. Great. Now let's do another activity. Okay. So here I would pause and I'll show you. Okay, I'll show you a paragraph. This is a small paragraph on how pencils are made. Pallavi, I hope my screen is visible.
Yeah, now it's visible.
No, ma'am.
Not it? No, it's visible actually. Neha, you can do one thing. Maybe you can stretch it. You can zoom it.
Okay, I'll just zoom it. Okay, so this is a paragraph on how pencils are made. I'll read it out for the audience. The modern pencil was invented in the late 18th century. It consists of a core made of graphite mixed with clay, encased in a wooden barrel. To make pencils, long, thin rods of graphite and clay are first baked in a kiln at a high temperature to harden them. These rods are then placed between two wooden slats that have grooves carved into them. The slats are glued together and pass through machines that shape them into smooth, round, or hexagonal pencils. After shaping, the pencils are dried, painted, and stamped with the manufacturer's name and grade, such as HB or 2B, which indicates the hardness of the lead. Finally, erasers are attached to one end using small metal ferrules. A single log of cedar wood can produce more than 150,000 pencils. Though the process has been modernized, the basic design has remained the same for over 200 years. Today, billions of pencils are produced every year across the world, used by students, artists, and engineers alike. Okay, great. So this is a little paragraph on how pencils are made. Great. Now we'll read another story. I'll just zoom in. So this is a short story actually. It's called I Met an Angel. So teachers, you can read it. I'll read it out for you. One bright morning, a little girl named Ria walked on the terrace of a building. The sky was blue, a soft breeze blew. Two pigeons sat on the wall. Ria carried a packet of biscuits in her hand. Near the railing, she saw an old lady with silver hair and a kind face. The lady wore a purple sari. She had a soft smile. Ria stopped. She looked at the lady. The lady looked at Ria. They both smiled. Ria did not say a word. She opened her packet, took out a biscuit, and held it out gently. The old lady smiled and placed her warm hand on Ria's shoulder. They stood there quietly, side by side, and watched the clouds. One cloud looked like a boat, another looked like a kitten. They did not talk. They just felt happy to be together under the open sky. When Ria reached home, she told her mother, I met an angel on the terrace today. She had silver hair and the most beautiful smile. When the old lady reached home, she told her daughter, I met an angel today. She was a kind little girl who shared her biscuits. That day, two people met on a terrace. No big words, no long talk, just a smile and a biscuit, and the day felt bright. Great. I'll now come back to my presentation. Okay. So teachers, these are some questions from passage 1. So what two materials are mixed to form the core of a pencil? Please type in your responses. What two materials are mixed to form the core of a pencil? So Pallavi,
Answers are popping in. They are telling it's graphite, clay and graphite, graphite and clay. Yeah, graphite, clay, I think.
Okay, great. Now the second question, at what stage of production are the graphite rods hardened? Please type in your responses.
No responses as of now.
No responses, no problem. We'll move to the next question. What do the letters HB or 2B stand for on a pencil?
Hardness.
Hardness. Okay. And how many pencils can a single log of cedar produce?
1,50,000 is the answer.
Yeah. And
15,000 is the answer.
Yeah. Okay. What happens to the pencils after painting?
No responses.
Okay, no problem. No problem.
Yeah, eraser are attached to them at one end. Eraser is set up on one side. Yeah, labeled.
Yeah, great. Okay, so now we'll look at a few questions from passage 2. What was the color of the old lady sari?
Silver color.
The old lady sari.
Some say purple.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of them are telling it's purple.
Purple. Okay, great. What did the sky look like that morning?
Sky blue?
Yeah. Great. And what was the little girl holding in her hand?
Biscuit.
Biscuits. And what were the shapes of the clouds?
White.
Okay. Any responses, Pallavi?
Yeah, it's only one response, white.
White. Okay, I'm asking about the shapes of the clouds.
Yeah. But the answer only white has been popped
Okay,
up as
no
of now.
problem. No
Two
problem.
shapes, boat shaped.
There were two shapes.
Two shapes, and one says boat shaped, cat shaped.
Yes. Okay. And who spoke first? Ria or the old lady?
Old lady.
Old lady spoke first.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Some
Yeah.
say no one spoke. Nobody spoke.
Yeah. But yes, I can understand what sir is saying. Old lady was the one who went to her daughter first and then spoke to her. But yes, in that moment when Ria and old lady were together, was there any conversation? At that time, there was no one speaking, right? Okay, great. Okay, thank you, teachers. So now a quick reflection. So out of the two passages, which one did you remember better? You remembered the passage better or the story better?
Story. Yes, ma'am.
Story, right?
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
and why did you remember the story better? The story was in fact longer as compared to the paragraph we read about the pencils. So story was in fact longer.
Yes, ma'am.
So we remembered the story because it was so full of emotions, and emotion is not some kind of a fluff. It's actually a brain's way of tackling information as important. Okay, teachers, please put yourself on mute. Yeah. Teachers, I request you to please put yourself on mute. Yeah. So next, teachers. So we remembered the story better because it was full of emotions, and emotion is actually our brain's way of tagging information as important. So there's a very small emotional hub in our brain. It's called amygdala. It tells memory that yes, this needs to be saved because it mattered to me. And this is the reason why stories, empathy, and laughter belong in every classroom. Whenever you are able to teach a concept through storytelling, you are able to connect it through stories, that really makes learning stick. So this is why emotions play a very good role, a very big role in a classroom. Yeah. Okay, now we'll understand cognitive load versus chaos. What is the difference between the two? Okay, so teachers, there are actually three forms of cognitive load. There is intrinsic load, there is extraneous load, and then there is germane load. So intrinsic load is when the topic in itself is very complex. The topic in itself is very difficult, which the children are not able to understand. So that leads to the cognitive load. Extraneous load is when there's a lot of distraction outside. And because of the distraction, the children are not able to, they are not able to understand a concept. And germane load is when there's a deep processing of new information, and again, we are integrating it with previous learning. So again, the Piaget's theory of assimilation and accommodation. So assimilation, as I just told you, is about linking a concept, a new concept, to the previous knowledge that the children have. Accommodation is when there's an existing schema of things in a child's brain. You bring in new information, and that schema changes a little to accommodate that concept. So, for example, the child knows that an animal who has 4 legs and a long tail is a horse. So when the child looks at a zebra, he or she thinks that, okay, this is a horse. So that is assimilation. The child has seen a horse, or probably he's seen the picture of a horse. So then when he sees a zebra, it says, okay, so this is a horse. That's the theory of assimilation. But when the child thinks that, no, the horse doesn't have these black and white stripes. So that is the theory of accommodation. The child cancels out the prior information that he has. And then through that, he kind of changes his existing schema and then accommodates the new information. So the child thinks that, okay, this creature looks like a horse. It looks very much like a horse. It has the body of a horse, the tail of a horse, but the color doesn't match with that of a horse. So this is not a horse, this is something else. So that is accommodation. So germane load is deep processing of new information by integrating it with previous learning. So these are the three kinds of cognitive load. So teachers always remember, when there's an intrinsic load, when the topic in itself is very complex, we try to simplify it. And I'll give you an example which will show you how we can simplify a complex topic. Then there is extraneous load, when there's a lot of distraction outside. So when there's a distraction, we try to reduce it. And germane load, we need to maximize. We need to accommodate and assimilate the new information by integrating it with the previous learning of children. So this is how we handle the three forms of cognitive load. Okay, so now this is like an example here. So since my background is English, so that's why this example is from English. So when I was a child, teachers, this types of sentences was one topic which I personally used to find very difficult. I was never able to understand the three types of sentences based on the kind of clauses we use in them. So based on the types of clauses the sentence contains, they are categorized into three types: simple sentences, compound sentences, complex sentences. And generally you will see how this topic is dealt with in most of the grammar books. Generally you will find similar definitions in any grammar book regarding simple sentences, compound sentences, and complex sentences. So simple sentences, for example, dark clouds are gathering, the chickens cross the road. These sentences convey a complete thought and they contain one finite verb. A sentence which has a subject and only one finite verb in it is called a simple sentence. Okay. A simple sentence is also an independent clause. Great. Now let's understand compound sentences. So he turned left and she turned right. You can get well soon or your condition can get worse. He went to see her, but she wasn't there. I say what I mean and you mean what you say. These sentences are formed by joining two independent clauses with coordinating conjunctions. A sentence which is formed by joining two or more main clauses connected by a coordinating conjunction is called a compound sentence. Okay, great. Now complex sentences, a sentence which has a main clause and at least one subordinate clause is called a complex sentence. The subordinate clause can be a noun clause, an adjective clause, or an adverb clause. Read these sentences. The teacher realized that the students were not prepared. The teacher spoke to the students who weren't prepared. The teacher scolded the students as they weren't prepared. So these sentences are formed by joining an independent clause with a dependent clause with the help of a subordinating conjunction. Great. Now just imagine you are giving so much of information to a child and everything just goes above their head, right? Since the topic in itself is so difficult and these definitions are making the topic even more difficult, how is the child able to understand complex sentences, compound sentences, and simple sentences when we are not able to simplify the topic for children? Now let me show you how we can simplify this topic. And I'm sure even the teachers who are not from English background will be able to understand this topic very well. Okay, so teachers, we all are very fond of watching movies, right? So now just imagine a simple sentence is just one shot. So the villain is running. That's just one shot. So that is the simple sentence. Compound sentence is when there are two shots and these two shots are stitched together. The villain is running and the hero is chasing. These days, the technology is so advanced that the director can shoot these two shots separately and then he or she can stitch these two shots together. The villain is running, he can shoot the running villain separately and he can actually shoot the hero chasing the villain separately and he can stitch these two shots together and that makes a compound sentence. There are two shots and then they are stitched together. Next is complex sentence. That's the entire scene. So you need to bring both the characters on a common platform and you need to shoot the entire scene together. The villain is scared because the hero is chasing him. So for this, you need to shoot the entire scene. You need to capture the expression on the villain's face when he looks at the hero. You need to show the chase. You need to show the villain running, the hero chasing him. So you need to shoot the entire scene together. So that's the complex sentence. So you understood how beautifully we understood this concept. Simple sentence is only one shot. Compound sentence, two shots stitched together. And complex sentence, the entire scene. Now we'll do an activity. Now teachers, you have to identify whether these sentences are simple, compound, and complex. So let's first look at sentence 1. The sun is shining. Is it a simple sentence, compound sentence, or complex sentence? You can type in your responses in the chat window. The sun is shining. Is it one shot, two shots stitched together, or is it the entire scene?
It's one shot.
It's one shot.
It's one shot.
Yes. So which sentence? Simple, compound, complex? Simple
Answer
sentence.
is simple.
Simple sentence. Great. Okay. Now let's move to the next sentence. I went inside because it started raining.
It's one it's a complex sentence.
I went inside because it was raining.
Yeah. So complex sentence. This is the entire scene. If we were to shoot the scene, we'll have to show the rain and the character probably getting wet in rain and then moving inside. So that's the entire scene. So complex sentence. She likes tea and he likes coffee.
It is compound, but it's telling about two people, no?
Yes.
She likes tea and
He
and
likes.
it's connected by and.
Yes, yes. So compound sentence. I like mangoes.
Simple.
Simple.
Sentence. Okay. She smiled when she saw her friend. Is it a simple sentence, a compound sentence, or a complex sentence?
Most of them say it's complex.
Complex. Great, great, great. So teachers, you understand. So all your answers were correct, teachers. And this is such a difficult topic and you were able to understand it so beautifully and you were able to get all your answers right. So that's why, because we made the intrinsic load lighter. Okay, we simplified a very complex topic and we made learning more enjoyable. So that's how you make learning stick. Okay, so teachers, now we'll play another chain reaction game. Let's test how our brains actually recall information. So we have understood, the working memory, the long-term memory. Now let's talk about retrieval. How does our brain recall information? So let's play a chain reaction game. I'll give you a starting word and you have to quickly add one connected word to it. So, okay, so the word is teacher. So you have to type in your responses in the chat window. Any word connected to the word teacher?
Classroom.
Classroom.
It says empathy, student, sincerity,
Great.
student empathy,
Yes.
book, motivation, student again.
Yeah. So teacher, since
Growth.
great. Okay, so teacher, since we have limited number of participants in this session, if we had a larger number of participants, or if we were running an offline session, then probably it sounds very simple, but when we put this rule that you don't have to repeat the same word again, the end starts fading sometimes, because the retrieval becomes more effortful. You start running out of words. So the harder it is, the deeper the meaning. So each time we pull a memory out, we are actually strengthening the neural links that hold it. So that's why testing is not just for evaluation, it is a form of teaching. Okay, so this is what retrieval is all about. When you try to recall information that is stored in your long-term memory, sometimes it is very easy, but when there's a lot of information that you try to pull out, it actually becomes very effortful. Okay, that's why it's very important. Okay, so what did your brain just do? You were retrieving, not rereading, and every link activating a semantic memory. So that's how you build a network of meanings. The more meaningful the link, the easier the recall. and you rebuild the chain backward, and that's what deep retrieval is all about. That's the toughest workout for a brain. Okay, so teachers, this is what the whole session was about in a nutshell. What does our brain love? It loves patterns, it loves emotions, it loves stories, feedback, retrieval, and curiosity. And what does our brain hate? It hates overload, it hates boredom, fear, and passive reading. So teachers, always keep this in your mind. What does a child's brain loves and what does it hate? That will really help you design your lessons in a better way. Okay, so teachers, now just reimagine your classroom. This is a very small task for you, and you don't have to type in your responses in the chat window. Just think about one difficult topic that you teach in your subject, and just think, how applying the same principles that you learned in this session, how you can make that topic simpler for your child. Just spend some 10-15 seconds and just try to reimagine the classroom. I mean, maybe like a very difficult topic in science, let's say. So okay, maybe maths. When I was a child, I used to find integration and differentiation very difficult. So just think how you can make a difficult topic simpler for your children, and just stay with that thought for your moment, for the moment. So you are essentially reimagining your classroom when you are doing that. You may use stories, you may use role plays. So that's how you can make a boring fill in the blank activity, or maybe a match the following activity more enjoyable for a children, for the children. You can make a treasure hunt. It can be anything. Okay. The science of learning is the art of teaching. Every time you simplify a concept, make a child laugh, or connect a rule to a story, you're not just teaching, you're shaping how a brain learns to love learning. So teachers, let's pause for a moment. We have been thinking, we have been laughing, we have been creating. All this while, our brains have been on fire. But beneath that fire, beneath that brain, there is something deeper. Every time you simplify a concept for a child, or you make a child laugh, you teach a concept through a story, you're actually performing some kind of an art. Okay, this is a performing art. You're performing art. You're shaping neural connections, teachers. You're transforming lives in the ways you cannot even imagine. And neuroscience explains how learning happens, but you as teachers make learning happen. So teachers play a huge role. Neuroscience can only do so much. It only informs how learning happens, but teachers actually make sure how learning happens. So teachers, always remember that you are the emotion, you are the curiosity, and you are the meaning. And the brain never forgets a wonderful teacher. With this, we are reaching the final slide of our presentation, of our session. The best teachers are not those who fill the minds, but those who light them. So every time a child smiles in your class, a neuron fires. Every time you say, okay, you can do it, it's okay, take your time, you build resilience in a child. Every time, teachers, you teach from your heart, the brain listens. So always teach the brain, teach the way the brain loves, with patterns, with stories, with curiosity and warmth. Science can only tell how the brain learns, but actually love and emotion decides how much it remembers, how much it retains. So teachers, thank you for lighting so many minds. I would say you're already people whom the brain loves the most, and that is a wonderful teacher. And that's why I believe the future of learning begins in your classroom. Okay, so Pallavi, we are reaching the end of the session. With this, that's all from my side. I'll now hand it over to you.
Thank you so much, Neha. It was such an insightful, thought-provoking session from your side. And teachers, I would also like to request you all the pointers which Neha mentioned is very much available in all the Headword publishing books, especially the one particular example which Neha took about grammar quotient, I can call it about, right? It is very much available in our new mission grammar book, the pedagogy, the completely research-based pedagogy. you can actually find out that in our book. So I would request you to please, get in touch with the concerned Edward team and have a look at all this aspect. And we have made, when it comes to books of science and mathematics, we have really highlighted, how the brain can identify the story-based approach. Everything is well taken up in Edward books. So thank you so much for being present today. And yes, somebody has a question. Somebody has a question. Yes, Sati K. Yes, ma'am. You have some question? Okay. Thank you. So thank you so much. Yeah. And meanwhile, I would request, if any questions, it's time for Q&A now. It's time for Q&A. You can utilize this platform if you have any question. Yeah, so sir, there is a message, Neha. It's simply beautiful and to the point. So teachers have loved your session, informative session.
Thank you so much,
So any
teachers.
questions, you can put it in the chat box, teachers. I can take it up. Or if you, I mean, it's now you have all the leverage. You can actually unmute yourself and directly ask Neha any questions. Any questions? Yeah, feedback link will be very soon shared to you, ma'am. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for the feedback on the session. Yes, now as we come to the end, as we come to the close of today's session, I would like to leave you with a simple thought. When we understand how brain learns language and any other concepts, we teach them with greater intention, empathy, and impact. On behalf of Edward Publishing Company and the Academic Excellence team, I extend my heartfelt thanks to Ms. Neha Gupta for sharing such insightful perspectives on the neuroscience of language. Your ability to connect brain research with classroom practice has truly enriched our understanding. I would also like to thank all of our participants for your active presence and engagement today. Your commitment to continuous learning is what truly drives meaningful change in our classrooms. We hope today's session inspires you to reflect, experiment, and apply neuroscience-informed strategies in your teaching practice. Thank you once again for joining us. We look forward to connecting with you in our future learning sessions. Have a wonderful day ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, teachers. Have a great day.
Thank you.